Okay, let's get into it. Today's deep dive, well, it might make you a little uneasy, but it's really crucial we understand it. We're looking at how our freedoms can slowly, almost imperceptibly start to disappear.
Mm.
How societies can sort of drift towards authoritarianism,
Mm.
often dressed up in really well-meaning language.
And that well-meaning part is key.
Exactly. And our guide for this is a really compelling critique from a writer named Rose. He pulls back the curtain on this creeping authoritarianism, our mission,
Yeah.
to pull out the vital insights from his work on how these seemingly benign policies can chip away at liberties, and importantly, what this means for you.
It's absolutely essential to start by acknowledging that tyrannies rarely, if ever, announce themselves with, bad intentions. That's not how it works. They consistently cloak authoritarian measures and appealing rhetoric. They'll talk about
Or
safety,
objects.
protection,
Yeah.
or the common good. Rose makes this point vividly. And he underscores the danger for people who fail to think in principles, those who just take leaders at face value. They become, well, easy prey for manipulative policies.
That's a really powerful framing, taking leaders at face value versus thinking in principles.
Right, and it sets the stage perfectly for understanding the subtle mechanisms Rose describes, how easily we can be led down a dangerous path if we aren't, critically engaged.
It really is powerful and maybe a bit unsettling. Can you think of like recent policies maybe that use that kind of language? Safety, common good, things that Rose might flag for us. What specific examples does he actually give to show this drift?
Oh, he dives right in. And the first one is, well, it's surprising and frankly pretty unsettling. It's the reintroduction of citizenship surveillance.
Citizenship surveillance.
Yeah, it's a practice that was actually abolished back in 1991, but it quietly made a return under a recent administration. We're talking about neighborhood investigations of foreign nationals applying for U.S. citizenship.
Wow. Okay. Neighborhood investigations.
Imagine that, a practice gone for decades, suddenly back.
So just so I'm clear, and for you listening, these aren't people like crossing borders illegally or something.
No, not at all.
We're talking about legal immigrants. People who've carefully followed all the rules, done the paperwork, the whole process.
Exactly. Played by every single rule, completed everything.
And still the government subjects them to what Rose calls Orwellian snooping, like neighbors reporting on them.
That's the gist of it, yeah, snooping into their lives. So what's the official reason? What's the justification they give?
Well, the official line for this resurrected surveillance is, it's to test applicants' moral character.
Moral character.
Yeah, and their attachment to the Constitution and their disposition to good order and happiness.
Huh.
On paper, I suppose to some people it might sound almost quaint, maybe even well-intentioned.
Right, like ensuring only the right kind of people become citizens. Sounds almost reasonable if you don't think too hard.
Precisely.
But hearing moral character and attachment to the Constitution? Okay, it sounds defensible maybe. But Rose isn't buying it, is he? What's his core objection? Oh, not at all. His critique is razor sharp. He argues governments are actually the least qualified entities to judge moral character, period.
How can they?
How can an institution, especially one with a vested interest in obedience, truly assess something so personal, so subjective, like your moral fiber or your genuine attachment to principles? And he goes further. He emphasizes the process itself violates fundamental constitutional rights.
Which one specifically?
We're talking the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches, the Fifth, due process, self-incrimination, and even the Ninth and 10th.
The ones about unenumerated rights and preventing federal overreach.
Exactly, preventing the government sticking its nose into deeply personal liberties.
And here's that ironic twist Rose points out, which I found really striking.
Yeah.
He says, those with a true attachment to the Constitution would immediately see this practice itself as fundamentally unconstitutional.
Uh-huh. Right, it's almost a catch-22.
A self-defeating test designed to catch out the very people who understand and cherish the document they're supposedly being tested on.
And this raises a huge question for us, right? As citizens, if we let the ruling class decide what counts as good moral character,
Or attachment to the Constitution.
what kind of society are we actually building? Rose warns it just leads to a test of obedience, not genuine virtue, not principled dissent, just obedience.
Obedience. That's chilling.
And he draws this really stark parallel. He points to authoritarian states like North Korea,
Oh.
where only government-approved behaviors, government-approved thoughts are tolerated, nothing else. And the chilling effect is profound. It silences immigrants. They become afraid to speak critically about U.S. policies because they fear being denied citizenship.
So they have to choose between speaking their mind and securing their future.
Exactly, which, as Rose highlights, is a classic sign of an oppressive regime.
So, okay, it's not just about immigrants then. Rose connects this surveillance thing to bigger ideas, right? Like nationalism and even thought crimes.
Yes, absolutely. He links it directly. He brings up that proposal from former President Trump,
Ah, I remember this.
suggesting punishing flag burning with a year in prison.
Right. Which might seem separate, maybe even patriotic to some people.
To some, yeah. But Rose sees it as part of the exact same dangerous trend. The state defining acceptable thought and behavior.
So how does he break down that flag-burning proposal specifically?
Oh.
If we connect it, like you said, to the bigger picture.
Well, Rose really dismantles it. He explains flat out that burning a flag is a form of free speech.
It's symbolic.
Symbolic speech, exactly. And it's already been upheld by the Supreme Court, protected under the First Amendment. So Rose argues criminalizing it basically turns free expression into a thought crime.
A thought crime.
Yeah, he likens it to, like, religious blasphemy. But here, the blasphemy is against the god of government, as he puts it.
The god of government, that's provocative.
It is. It implies this worship of a deity called the state, where symbols like the flag become sacred objects you just cannot desecrate. It shifts political protest into something sacrilegious, demanding a kind of loyalty that's way beyond civic duty. It's ideological.
That makes sense. But what's interesting is Rose doesn't just paint a completely bleak picture there. He actually found a kind of silver lining in that whole flag-burning debate, didn't he?
He did, yeah, it was quite observant.
What was that moment of resistance he saw?
He noticed that the Trump administration, when they pushed that proposal, they kind of miscalculated the public mood.
Oh, how so?
He points out that many conservatives, veterans, people who genuinely respect the flag, they actually rejected the idea of jailing people for burning it.
Even if they hated the act itself.
Exactly. Even if they found the act offensive, they weren't on board with imprisoning someone for it. And
Yeah.
for Rose, that's a really powerful indicator.
And what does that pushback signify, according to Rose?
He suggests that maybe, just maybe, blind nationalism is actually weaker today than it was, say, back in the 1940s when that stuff was much more pervasive. Now, he's quick to acknowledge that plenty of people still fall for patriotic indoctrination, absolutely. But that incident showed a potential point of resistance. It showed there are lines even some, fervent nationalists won't cross when it comes to fundamental liberties.
Even if they disagree with the specific act.
Right. It's like principle, maybe inconsistently applied, but still principle sometimes trumped pure nationalism.
Okay, so what does this all mean when we look at how maybe absurd things can get with overzealous enforcement, and how ordinary people might push back in small ways? Rose cites this almost unbelievable anecdote. Someone charged with felony assault
Oh, the
for
sandwich.
throwing a sandwich at an ICE officer.
Yeah.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement, a sandwich. It sounds almost like a joke.
It does sound absurd.
But what does Rose suggest? This tells us about the power dynamic between the state and citizens when minor acts get extreme charges.
It's a truly bewildering incident, yeah. And Rose sees it as really indicative of that disconnect we talked about. He specifically highlights the grand jury's refusal to indict. They refuse to indict.
Yes. And he interprets that as possibly a quiet but powerful form of jury nullification.
Okay, remind us what jury nullification is again.
It's when a jury returns a not guilty verdict, not necessarily because they think the defendant is factually innocent,
Right.
but because they believe the law itself is unjust, or maybe its application in that specific case is just wrong or absurd.
So the jury essentially says, we refuse to apply this law here.
Pretty much. It's ordinary citizens pushing back against what they see as overreach or just plain ridiculousness. And what it reflects, Rose argues, is this huge gap between the ruling elites, who might push for felony charges for a sandwich,
Right.
and ordinary people on a grand jury who see the absurdity and refuse to participate in what they feel is an unjust use of state power.
That's a fascinating way things can work in both directions. And Rose, he has a personal story that really drives this home, doesn't he? Connecting it all back.
He does, a powerful one.
He talks about being harassed by the IRS. Is that right? Yes, the IRS. They visited his friends' homes and workplaces.
Wow. Not just him, but his friends and colleagues.
Right. And he emphasizes this wasn't about collecting information. They weren't asking for anything useful.
So what was it about then?
He says it was specifically designed to instill fear
Yeah.
and to isolate him, to make him radioactive, basically.
That is genuinely chilling.
Yeah.
The government actively trying to ostracize a citizen.
It is. And what's really insightful is how Rose draws that crucial parallel between his personal experience with harassment
Yeah.
and those immigrant investigations we started with.
Connecting the dots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He underscores that this kind of surveillance, whether it's IRS agents visiting your friends or the government snooping into an immigrant's private life based on vague criteria, it isn't really about finding truth. It's not about facts.
It's about
It's about intimidation. It's about silencing dissent, creating a climate of fear where questioning authority just becomes too risky, too personally costly. And this raises an important question for us, doesn't it? How many seemingly bureaucratic processes or these minor incidents of maybe overzealous enforcement, how many are actually designed to do just that, to subtly nudge us all into conformity?
It really makes you think about how insidious these things can be, how they start small, seem justified maybe, and then just creep deeper into our lives.
Right.
Rose, in his final warning, he kind of brings it all together, right? Highlighting that slippery slope we've been discussing.
Absolutely. Policies like these invasive background checks based on subjective moral character, trying to criminalize symbolic free speech, targeting individuals who speak out, they foster a society where gradually only the people who essentially worship the government are left unharassed, left free from scrutiny.
Everyone else feels the pressure.
Everyone else feels the pressure. And Rose insists this is precisely how societies drift, almost imperceptibly sometimes, towards full-blown authoritarianism. He leaves us with this truly provocative core message. He says, look, if you support the government deciding who is good enough to live in America,
Or what thoughts are acceptable.
or what thoughts and expressions are acceptable, then in his view, you are already mentally enslaved.
Wow. That's a stark warning.
It is a stark warning about the real cost of unchecked power and what happens when we stop thinking in principles.
And that really is the core message we hope you take away from our deep dive today. It's about that crucial importance of recognizing authoritarian measures, even when they're masked as good intentions, couched in that language of safety. It's about the profound dangers of letting the state define something like good moral character and the insidious, chilling nature of these intimidation tactics. Remember, the key takeaway here is to always try to think in principles rather than just blindly trusting authority, especially when that authority claims it's acting for your own good.
Right. And maybe we can leave you with this final thought to chew on long after this deep dive. How might understanding these subtle mechanisms, these creeping changes, how might that change the way you evaluate current policies or how you engage in public discourse, debates about civil liberties?
What actions might you feel compelled to take, maybe, to uphold the principles we talked about today, even when it seems inconvenient or maybe challenging?
Active vigilance, critical thinking, they really are your most powerful tools in safeguarding principles. Keep asking questions, always.